to aim the camera.
Okay.
All right, so we're here to talk about helping you buy a house, correct?
Yes.
And you guys have already been pre-approved, which is excellent. I'm gonna pull up that letter real quick.
Now she sent me a thing about through Kansas, some assistance, but I haven't followed through, or I didn't know if I was supposed to yet, or I haven't really talked to him because I've been kind of a little busy lately. So
your last name is
Enriquez.
Enriquez. Why did I think Escobar? Because I had one of those too. Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, she has you pre-approved FHA. What I think she's wanting to have you do, because she said you don't have like cash to put down, right? So she's wanting you to do the Kansas first-time homebuyer program, which is a lot better than the Missouri first-time homebuyer program.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't like the Missouri one. In fact, I try and steer people away from it because you have to own the home. Basically, they give you 4% grant up front, but then charge you a 1% funding fee back, so you get a net of 3%.
And they make you live there 10 years.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. At year 6, 20% falls off, and then 20% of the 4% falls off every year until year 10 when it's all gone. So it's like a silent second mortgage on your house.
Okay.
Kansas doesn't have those rules. What Kansas is going to do is the more money you take from Kansas, the higher interest rate they're going to charge you.
Okay.
But interest rates are so low that you're paying a little bit more interest, but you're also getting that money up front. It's not attached to the house as a lien. I don't believe. Again, talk to her about all that stuff. But from what I understand, you could sell that house anytime you wanted. It's not like you got to then pay all that money back or anything. So,
well, but the goals that we have that we kind of know, and I want to find something where I have a little room to build a shop.
Okay.
So any money I got coming in at this time would go. I want to put towards that building
okay. Cool.
instead of or finding something that needs a little fixing up.
Yeah.
And I have because I'm not looking to buy some new house.
Right.
Because of what I do.
Yeah,
I'd rather make it my own.
You can add a lot of equity that way too.
Yeah, I'd rather do it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So what I'm going to do is the first form I'm going to start with is called the broker disclosure form. Since you're in Kansas, you guys are only buying on the Kansas side, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to cover that one. So the brokerage relationship form is basically the different types of ways you can have representation in a real estate transaction. Okay. So you won't be a seller's agent, but if I was your buyer's agent, or and Kansas allows the broker to designate me as your agent so that it's just me and not all the agents in my office, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The reason that's important is because another agent from my office, Joe Schmo in the office down the hall, can represent the seller. I can represent you as the buyer, and we're not in a dual agency situation, which is illegal in the state of Kansas.
Okay.
Missouri actually allows dual agency, even though they allow it. We don't do it because we feel like it's a major conflict of interest to try and represent opposite sides of a negotiation. So what I will be for you is your designated buyer's agent, okay? Transaction broker is another option. If you happen to find one of my listings you want to buy, that's legal, but I don't do that either. I would typically, in that situation, which it happens it really hardly ever happens unless I already have the listing and some lead comes in when they don't have an agent, then I got to figure out what to do. In that case, typically I'd have that buyer just work with another agent on my team. Okay. So, yes, legal won't apply to you. This just basically outlines the duty and obligations as your agent, okay? And the contract that we're going to have is going to go a lot more detail in it, but essentially I have to represent your best interest. Things that we talk about stay confidential between us. I have to act in a timely manner so that if you say, hey, we like this house, we want to make an offer on it, I can't take 3 days to get that offer put together and get it submitted, and now the house is already sold, okay? I got to basically act in a timely manner, which is same day. We got to be ready to jump, and that's fine. And honestly, I've been doing this long enough, I can throw the 16-page offer together in about 10 minutes if I have everything I need to fill in the blanks. All it is just a bunch of fill in the blank crap, and then I email it to you, and you can electronically sign it, and it's pretty simple, okay? So I got that out of the way now. Kansas won't take my license away. That's not really what you came here for. So this is what I hope will be helpful for you. Have you guys you have bought a house before, right?
I have. She's never.
Okay, so first-time home buyer. When's the last time you bought one? Years ago?
The one, it was like 07.
Okay, yeah, so it's been over 10 years. So this will be a really good refresher for you, and the market's a little bit different. And every realtor does things a little bit differently too. And then, of course, not having been through it, this will be helpful for you as well. So this is just some information about me and my team. I won't go through this word for word with you. It'll bore you and overwhelm you, but here we are. So I do like to mention that we are at Keller Williams. That's the brokerage. That's why you see the big red KW behind me. But the unique thing about Keller Williams as opposed to some other brokerages is they allow us to brand ourselves a little bit independently of the broker. So you kind of see my logo, and that's sometimes that kind of confuses people, so I like to explain up front, that within Keller Williams, I have my own team. Right now, there's 2 admins and 6 agents, including myself. So there's 8 of us total on the team. Okay. So this is just some basic information about me. If you wanted to take a look at it, Michael, you probably know a lot of this stuff already, but I am in the Air Force, and so drill weekends do take me out 1 weekend a month. But outside, oh, you didn't?
Yeah,
okay.
That's cool.
So 1 weekend a month, I'm out doing that thing. But again, the benefit of having a big team is I have folks that can help you if I'm gone or unavailable. Okay. In 2018, and we're tracking for the same number in 2019, our team will be in the top, really probably closer to 0.5% of realtors in Kansas City as far as volume and units, number of houses sold. And the reason that's important to you is you need to know that you're with a team that knows what they're doing. Okay, this is our full-time job. This is not there's over 11,000 realtors in Kansas City right now, and the vast majority of them are part-time, maybe sell a few houses a year.
Yeah.
Typically, all close as many in a month that the average realtor closes in a year, just because they're not living, breathing, eating, sleeping this stuff full-time. So I got that strong hustle game just like you do. So anyway, there's some basic information about me. This is a couple folks on our team. Amanda is my director of operations and listing coordinator. She really works more on the seller side, so you really won't have any interaction with her.
Okay.
But you will have a lot of interaction with Cassandra. So I pay both of these gals a salary out of my commissions, or out of the team commissions, basically. Right now we have 85 closed and pending for this year, so I'm hoping to hit the 90 number before we get there, but we'll see. So Cassandra's job, once we get a deal under contract, is to really work closely with you from contract to close.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember last time, but when you sign a contract, typically it's 30 to 45 days until you're actually signing all the paperwork to take possession of the house. And a lot of stuff happens in that 30 to 45 day window, which I'm going to explain in just a minute. But Cassandra's going to walk you through most of the details of that process. So what happens is when we get your deal under contract, she's really going to sort of grab the bull by the horns and make sure that you have 2 sides of every contract. You have the seller side and the buyer side. She's always going to do as much as she can for both sides, right?
Yeah.
Because we're always just going to assume the other agent isn't doing their job, because unfortunately there are a lot of agents who don't know what they're doing or who are lazy. Now, a lot of times though, the other agent on the other side is good also and doing the same thing, and then we just kind of have 2 people doing the job and we just make sure nothing gets missed, okay? So that's a little bit about Cassandra. She does work kind of Monday through Friday, banker hours, basically.
Okay.
So if there's ever anything you need outside of like regular business hours, I'll be your main contact. But I'll be honest with you, I may or may not even know the answer. I may have to wait till the next business day to get with her. Okay. Because really, I stay out of the weeds and let her do her job. It's probably frustrating for you when you have a boss that tries to do your job for you. I have to do the same thing for her, or it just messes things up. I will be involved, obviously, in helping you find the house, negotiate the deal, and negotiate inspections. So when you buy a house, you do an inspection and you negotiate through that. So I'll be really involved in that process. But outside of the basic daily to-dos of working with the lender and the title company and the listing agent, she'll have a lot of that to do, okay? A little bit about what to expect to get with our team. So things on this page I like to highlight always, and I won't do everything, is communication and availability. So just know that we're going to check in with you on a regular basis, typically a weekly basis, especially once you're under contract. You'll hear from Cassandra at least weekly, even if she doesn't have anything for you. Because really, once you get under contract, you do your inspections, you do the appraisal, it might be 3 more weeks until closing. You're just kind of chilling and waiting and nothing's really happening, but she'll still be checking with you just to make sure you guys are okay. It can be nerve-wracking and stressful and things like that, and so we want to do what we can to take that out of it for you.
Yeah, it's her first.
Yeah. She won't be or will be?
She will be.
Yeah.
Super nervous.
Yeah, that's it's.
I'll be okay.
It's pretty normal for the first time buyer to be kind of anxious about stuff. So that side of it, then just know that we're available to you as well. So you can reach out to us anytime if you have questions, and we have that happen all the time. What I will tell you that you'll be hopefully satisfied and happy with our team is that we try to answer your questions before you even realize you have them, if that makes sense. So, for example, once we go under contract, we're going to send you, Cassandra will send you a big long email with all the details of the whole transaction from start to finish, of who to call and when to set up inspections and how to do that and where to drop off their deposit and who, all the details of that, process. And hey, don't forget to get insurance. We'll even send you an email out about a week or 2 before closing to say, hey, don't forget to call the utility companies and have it set up in your name. And here's the company you need to call and here's their phone number even. We really try and take all the guesswork out of it. So just know you don't have to do anything proactively on the transaction side. We are going to tell you what you need to do and when you need to do it, so you don't have to stress about that, okay? And then the same thing with working with Megan, because I've done a lot of transactions with them as the lender. They're going to be the same way on the loan side. Just whatever they ask, get them. But that's it. You don't have to do anything above and beyond that. They are on the ball. They've never missed a closing date for me, and that happens all the time, unfortunately, from other lenders. So the last piece is the satisfaction guarantee. So just know, like, if you're unhappy with what the job we're doing for you, you can fire us at any time, okay? So we do have a contract we have to sign, but there's a cancellation to that contract. So I don't ever have that happen. And you know the kind of guy that I am. I don't think you expect that to happen, but I always like to tell folks up front, especially for the purpose of training right now, that is an option for you if you are unhappy. And a lot of realtors don't offer that.
I'm glad I'm using it because I got a feel of you a little bit. Daryl knows you a lot more than I do, but I can tell, I can read people pretty good. So.
I've done 2 transactions with Daryl already. So this is some information about White Keller Williams. I don't spend really much time on this page. It's here more for you if you want to read it later. Okay. Sometimes it's important if I know, like, somebody's already talked to an agent from a different brokerage and I really got to convince them on why me and White Keller Williams. There's some information here that can be helpful. But this is really the most important stuff is these next 3 pages. And this is the overview for buying a home, okay? So the 2 things you have to do right up front, which you're already doing, so good job. You didn't even know, like, you're already checking those things off. That initial interview with your agent, so you got to make sure you find that realtor you want to work with, that you feel comfortable with, feel like you can trust, those kind of things. And then that lender appointment. We got to get you pre-approved, which we've done that as well. So on the lender piece, a couple things that I want to run by you, and I know the answer to these questions, so I'm just going to it really helps when folks get pre-approved before they come in, because now I can guide you instead of ask, I can tell, if that makes sense, and coach. So a couple things to keep in mind with your pre-approval. There are going to be closing costs on any house that you buy, okay? Now, we can negotiate the seller to cover some or all of those. Yeah. I will tell you that's hard to do sometimes in the market we're in right now, where it's still a strong seller's market. Now, with the house you're looking for, I think it's probably more doable, right? It's usually those, like, houses that have already been all updated, the turnkey, move-in ready stuff. If you're looking for a little bit of a project, typically it's a little bit easier to get those closing costs paid, right? And I can sell it to the listing agent of, there's a lot of work that needs done here. My clients need to keep the cash in the bank instead of pay their own closing costs so they can afford to have the work done, blah, 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 right? Typical
as long
stuff.
as it's nothing major,
right?
If it's just
cosmetic
and stuff, then if the roof's, like, in deep damage, we got to negotiate.
Right, and we would do that during inspections. Yeah, that's no problem at all. So I know in your guys' case, I got to get the seller to cover those closing costs, okay? And we can do that. One thing to be aware of, the way the contract reads when you make an offer on a house and you ask a seller to cover closing costs, let's say we ask for $4,000. The contract reads seller to pay buyer closing costs not to exceed X amount of dollars, okay? So if I ask for $4,000 and your closing costs are $5,000, you have to come up with a difference out of pocket, okay? If I ask for $4,000 and your closing costs are $3,000, we just left $1,000 on the table. Does that make sense? It's not like now we get $1,000 off the house because we didn't use the whole $4,000. It's just gone, okay? So we want to try and dial that in as close as we can, but that's really hard because I have no idea what your insurance is going to be on the house. You know what I mean? Every house's taxes are different. The loan fees are always a little bit different. So I'm going to ballpark that to get you within, a few $100s.
Okay.
But I would say my advice to you is if you can, if when we write the offer and you're like, Joe, we just don't have it, we need all of our closing costs, I'd rather run the risk of leaving some money on the table than have to pay anything out of pocket. We can do that and negotiate that way. Okay. If you got a little bit of money in the bank and you're like, hey, I'd rather not leave money on the table, cut it close, knowing that I may have to come out of pocket a little bit, then that's going to be, it's just up to you and what you, at the time of actually making an offer, what you guys feel like is best for your family, okay? So just if you think about it, remind me of that when the time comes. Hey, we talked about this. To give you an idea, what kind of price point are you thinking you're going to land in? I don't even remember.
I think it was like 160.
Okay.
Something like that.
That's fine.
I know, like, when I bought my first house in Wyandotte, and I want to say it was like 190, and our payment was like 1,400, with the taxes and all, and nothing down and all that. So I know I want to keep it around 1,200. Okay. 1,300's pushing it, but
that's probably pretty accurate then.
So.
And a lot of it's going to depend on taxes and insurance, right? If your taxes jump from $1,200 to $2,400, well, that's $100 a month just in taxes difference right there. So that's the biggest piece of it. And so kind of keep an eye on that as we're looking at houses, and I'll show you where to find that. So on $160,000, your closing costs ballpark tend to be about $4,500 to $5,000. Okay. Now, typically of that $4,500 to $5,000, $2,000 of that is called prepaid cost, or excuse me. I skipped the wrong spot. Is fixed costs. Where did it go? I'm reading upside down. There we go. Fixed costs are usually in the ballpark of $2,000. Okay, so that's your loan origination fees. It's your title company fee. We have a broker admin fee of $395. It's paid at closing. It's all sort of those costs loosely wrapped up. It's a ballpark. Then you have prepaid costs. So prepaid costs are a little bit of cushion for your insurance and taxes. It's going to go into your escrow account.
Yes.
And then the biggest cost is you pay for your first year of homeowner's insurance up front, obviously, right? And so that's the number that will vary greatly. This number doesn't change too much. I don't care if you're buying an $80,000 house or a $500,000 house. Those numbers are pretty similar. This number is the one that varies. And again, it's because the more expensive house you buy, the more expensive your tax and insurance are going to be.
That's why we're going to live simple.
Yeah.
Like not buy the $40,000 car, because in Wyandotte, man, they're going to gouge you for taxes.
Yeah, because of all the
I mean, if I have a $40,000 car and a $200,000 house, there goes $10,000 a year just in taxes.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to pay that.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so your closing costs on this are going to be ballpark $4,500 to $5,000. So we're going to add the $2,000, and you're looking at another $2,000 to $2,500 in prepaids. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's the first two steps. We got you pre-approved. We know we can go see. Now, here's one catch, Michael, that I do want you to be aware of. Because you're pre-approved FHA, okay? Yes. So FHA is a government-backed loan, okay? And some houses won't. FHA appraisals are different than conventional appraisals.
They want like the handrail. They're a little more picky.
Right. It's a government-backed thing, and so they say fire safety and health concerns. So the things that I typically see that cause issues on an FHA loan are peeling paint and wood rot, missing handrails, stuck windows or windows that don't open, tree limbs rubbing on roofs, major concrete issues, settling like this. So there's a major tripping hazard. Those are the things that I typically, exposed electrical wires, things like that. So when I set you up on your MLS search, I'm only going to be searching for houses that will go FHA. So those are going to tend to be a little bit more on the turnkey side. What I think would be best for you guys.
And that's fine. I don't want
Right.
I don't want the $50,000 I need to put in, in a house. Or, you know what I mean?
What I would love to find for you guys is that house maybe that has had an older couple live in it. Yeah. And they've taken good care of the house. They just haven't It still looks like 1980 or 1990. And
got the old wood.
That's probably the best bet for you guys to get you in a situation where you come in and update it on your own over time. But structurally speaking, they took really good care of it. I always tell clients those are the best deals out there.
That's the best cars to get if you want an old car.
Yeah,
because it's been in the garage.
Right.
You just went to the grocery store.
Same thing with houses.
Yeah.
It blows my mind sometimes what people will pay for what I call lipstick on a pig. Right. I mean, you got this dump house that somebody slapped some paint and granite in the kitchen, and now buyers want to pay stupid amounts for it. Versus go get the house that 80-year-old man lived in for 30 years, and he had nothing to do in retirement but take care of his house. Yeah. He just didn't care about updating the shag carpet and the flowered wallpaper or whatever. Faucet, yeah. So anyhow, the next step, and we'll circle back and do this, is to talk about your search criteria. What exactly are you looking for? And we'll come back and do that. I'll take that information and enter it into our MLS search. So the MLS search is like an online database for realtors, okay? So you've probably played around a little bit on some websites already to kind of see what's for sale out there.
Not really.
Not too
I don't
much.
know if she has, but
okay.
I didn't want to get too anxious.
I get it. Well, there's all kinds of different websites out there, but this portal that I'm going to set you up on is the most accurate. It'll be real time. So if I send you a listing and then it goes under contract, it's going to sort of disappear from your portal. So if you don't see it anymore, it's because it went under contract, so it's gone. So the nice thing about my portal is it's only going to show you the houses that are actually available as options to make offers on. Okay. And as long as whatever criteria you give me, like if you say 100 to 160, if there's a $161,000 house, it's not showing up in your portal. Okay. It's very just black and white. I can always change it if you want to, but we'll talk about that stuff later. So I'll do that today before you leave too, is set up that search for you. And then you're just going to select the properties you want to view when you want to see them. I'm telling you, right now is actually a pretty good time to buy a house.
Because a lot of people are buying them.
I've got 8 active listings just sitting there hardly getting any showings.
Because it's winter, people are Christmas,
holidays.
School's already in session in the middle of school.
So what does that mean for you as buyers?
It's better for us.
Desperate sellers, right?
The spring and summer is when we don't want to be buying.
So this is, as a buyer who doesn't have a house to sell, if you have a house to sell, it kind of comes out in the wash. It doesn't matter because either you sell easy and buy hard or buy hard and sell easy. It doesn't matter. But for you guys, this is a great time to do that. So do me a favor with some of these. If you see some you're interested in and you can drive past them first or do a little bit of research on like Google Earth and satellite images, that's going to help because if you get there and the neighbor's got a junkyard in the yard or the driveway's like this or whatever, that saves us time from kicking a seller out of a house. And, you guys, especially you, I don't know about your schedule. This dude is busier than anybody.
I bid on a job that was in Leavenworth. It was an old, Old Taco Bell.
Uh-huh.
and I Googled it to see what it looked like.
Around there?
I did the 360 on it to see what it looked like on the outside.
Yeah.
To bid it.
Right.
Because I didn't want to drive all the way out there. I was so busy and I wanted to hurry up. So.
Right. Did you get it?
I thought so, but I don't know. I never heard nothing back on it. But it's kind of cold now, so I don't know. Like, it's not like good exterior painting going on.
Yeah,
so.
I hear you.
But anyways.
So do your best there. But at the same time, just know if you see it online and it's new to the market and you do really like it online, we really need to get you in it fairly quick because houses can still sell fairly quick. We are coming to a little bit slower time, so I'd say that's less of an urgency as it was 5 or 6 months ago that I was telling buyers like we got to get in them right away. But just know if you want to see it, it just takes a text message. I will probably have some agents on my team help you with a lot of your showings just because being in the area you have, I have some agents that are closer to that area already versus me driving there every time you want to see a house. And so sometimes it may be me and sometimes it may be one of them just open the door for you. Okay?
So I got a question for you, like, because our schedules are so different. Like right now she can't get off till 5. But she has sometimes a lot, when we don't have the kids, she has a lot of time. So maybe something she could look at after work, but maybe I couldn't get to it. Or maybe I could get to it earlier that day or the next day. Is that what do you suggest on that?
Possibly. As much as you can, we want to get you there at the same time.
Because she could look at something and say, I like it, but she doesn't know anything about structure and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I would say let's focus more on like probably you first, and if you kind of check off on it, and because it's going to be easier for you to look at it and see I really think she's going to like it than I think the other way around. Does that make sense? So that would be my advice, to get you in it first if we just can't get you both there at the same time.
But I want her just as important as the input.
Absolutely,
she's like, I don't want to do
right.
Nothing,
but I think you can go in and say, yeah, structurally, I don't want this one, or I know she won't like the inside of their layout or whatever. If you're like, yeah, I don't know how she'll feel about it, I'm good with it, then we just get her in it as soon as she can. So yes, that's doable. It's best if we can get you there at the same time if all possible. Sure. But I also understand that that's not. I want to make sure that's stop. Okay. I also understand that sometimes that's just not doable. Okay.
And most of the time, I think we can make time.
Okay.
So
cool. Yeah, and evenings are no problem too. I mean, we obviously show houses. Okay. Unfortunately, this job requires a lot of evenings and weekends hours. We work with clients who work.
Yeah, it'd been nice when she took a new job because she always had Mondays off.
Oh, really?
But now she's Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that helps with the family life, though.
Yeah.
So at some point, we're going to find a house you're going to want to make an offer on. So we're going to talk a little bit about what making an offer looks like. Okay. So we're going to, what will happen is either me or one of the agents on my team will show you a house. And you're going to be like, yeah, I think this is the one we want to make an offer on. A little piece of advice to you is we have kind of an expression in real estate right now that if you sleep on it, you may not sleep in it. So if you see the house and you like it, don't be afraid to pull that trigger on it because it may be gone if we delay too much. And I've had that happen a bunch of times. And yet at the same time, know that we're not going to pressure you or push you into making an offer. We're just going to sit back and wait for you to tell us. So if you're at the house, you like it, you see some good possibilities. If somebody's living at the house, my advice is to go outside and talk about how much you like the house. And if you want to make an offer, because just in this world, we never know where we're being recorded. But you just tell us. We'll call the agent, make sure they don't already have an offer that they're working on. If they don't, then we'll just I'll get with you and talk about what do you want to offer, how much. We can always pull comps for the neighborhood, put together a quick little market analysis for you to see if the price they're asking is fair or if we want to make a different kind of offer. And we'll talk about purchase price, closing cost, who your lender is, what loan type like all that stuff goes in the offer, closing date, inspection period, all those things go in the offer. And I'll walk you through that when the time comes. And a lot of that's pretty standard stuff. And so I'll just kind of coach you and ask you and you'll make the decision. Okay. Mm-hmm. When we make the offer, there is going to be a $1,000 earnest money deposit that's going to be due. Okay, so that's your down payment. That is a check that's going to go to the title company and get cashed by the title company. So make sure you have the funds in the account. Okay. And then your lender's going to want to see that money clear your bank and kind of process through and know that it cleared okay. Okay, so they're going to ask for a bank statement after this clears. And the reason that's in red is because I want that to stand out to you. Everything in this document that's in red is going to be where it's going to cost you money. Okay, now keep in mind that's not an extra fee. That's just the first $1,000 of your down payment or your closing costs. In a situation where if you end up using the right program and we get the seller to pay all your closing costs, you could actually be refunded that money at closing. Okay. I've had clients at closing receive a check, which was some or all of their earnest deposit back. So just be aware of that. But if we're not getting all your closing costs or all your down payment covered, depending on how much down payment assistance you decide to take, then we are going, that money will be applied to one of those things. But just the biggest thing is just know that it's cashed. The other thing you're going to want to be careful of during this whole time period is make sure you don't do anything that's going to drastically change your credit score. Okay. This wasn't my team, but another team in our office almost lost a transaction because she opened a Victoria's Secret gift card. Didn't even charge anything on it. Just opening the gift card almost threw her credit ratios out of whack or something. So while we're in this process, don't open any lines of credit. Don't go buy something on credit. And really, without talking to Megan first, don't even pay off any. Just, coast right now, if that makes sense.
What do I do? Because like right now I'm using my credit cards to move around money.
Talk to Megan.
Okay.
Because I don't know how
for jobs.
Yeah.
Like I just bought paint today.
Right.
But it's, you know what I mean?
That
was helping me build my credit too.
Right. Talk to her and see what she says.
Okay, I'll talk to her as soon as I can.
Okay, cool. So we'll do that. And then the other thing is, if you see the house and there's something in the house, personal property wise, that you really like and you want to negotiate that to stay, sometimes that's a refrigerator, a washer dryer, a swing set in the backyard, or whatever. Typically it's appliance type stuff. Just let me know ahead of time and we can talk about putting that into the offer. Okay. Typically it's going to be a refrigerator is the most common thing, because a lot of times the sellers may want to try and take it with them and you want them to leave it. And I tell all my sellers to take it with them and sell it on Craigslist, because it doesn't make the house worth more money. And if the buyer wants it, they'll ask for it. And if they don't, sell it for $500 on Craigslist. So if you want it, we'll need to ask for it if they're not. But sometimes they are just automatically giving it up. Every realtor advises their clients differently.
Okay.
So we'll put this offer together. Again, we use a program called Dot Loop, and I'll loop that to you. At some point, we're going to move to another program called DocuSign. So either one of those, you'll sign electronically, and then I will submit the offer, and then that begins our negotiation phase. So they're going to either accept our offer, counter our offer, reject our offer. They come back and say we have multiple offers, and then they'll walk us through how they want to handle multiple offers. Every multiple offer situation can be a little bit different. The biggest thing is just know that, like, I will walk you through that process. I will coach you through it. If we find ourselves in a multiple offer situation, I have some really good tricks up my sleeve to win out in those situations, whether we're the highest offer or not. I don't always win, but I oftentimes do. And so we have some great options. Some of those things can be, flexible closing dates for sellers can be really important. Love letters that you write to sellers about how much you love that specific house and why you can't wait to raise your family in it or whatever. Other things could be in its present condition addendums. So we still do inspections, but we're telling the seller we're not going to renegotiate. We're either going to take it as is or cancel the contract. They love those because they get the warm fuzzies knowing they're not going to get nickel and dimed over stupid stuff, because that's a seller's biggest fear oftentimes. So we don't have to do those things. But we can. Another one's an escalation clause. So let's say the house is really underpriced and you would pay more for it than what they're asking. Maybe we would go $10,000 over asking, but why if nobody else is, right? So but a lot of times what they'll say is we want your highest and best by Sunday at 5, just to see who has the highest and best. So our highest and best is up to X amount to beat out the next highest offer and writing by $1,000, right? Mm-hmm. It's a $150,000 house. We'd go up to 160, but the next highest offer is 155. Then we're just going to go to 156, and it can save you some money that way. Okay. So there are a lot of ways to negotiate through that process. So don't worry if that happens. I'm seeing it less and less, so I don't think it's going to be a major concern. But if it does, just be aware we're comfortable walking you through that process. Okay. We cannot finance anything extra, like if we can't build in $5 or $10,000 to buy supplies to fix the house up and things like that, or buy furniture or anything. Mm-hmm. So once we've basically negotiated the contract, both sides have agreed, we've signed the contract, we are officially under contract. So you'll hear that word a lot. That house is already under contract, or wow, that went under contract fast. That's what that means. Somebody's got an accepted offer on it. We can write a backup offer. Typically it's a waste of time, but if you find like one house you really love in the area you really want, it may be worth writing a backup offer, but I only do that a couple times a year for very specific circumstances. Okay. Once we've got the house under contract, it's yours to lose. So just know somebody else could come make a backup offer on your house as well. And even if their offer's higher, the seller cannot kick you out of the contract, okay? And then that begins our inspection period. Once we're under contract, we have an effective date, right? Let's say it's, December 15th or something. December 15th becomes our effective date. Then we typically have 10 to 12 days from that date to do all of our inspections, okay? Now, keep in mind, we can negotiate stuff on the front end, right? So if you see something about the house that concerns you, we don't have to wait till the inspection period to ask for things to be fixed or addressed, or purchase price covered or closing cost covered so you can fix it yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Once we go under contract, though, we cannot then you can't do your own inspections and come back and ask the seller to fix XYZ based on things you found. At that point, we have to use a neutral third-party home inspector, basically. Okay? So it can't be like a friend of yours. It can't be somebody related to you. All that kind of stuff.
It's got to be somebody you guys use.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I mean, it can be anybody as long as they're qualified. We obviously do have people we use who are very, very good at what they do, and yet at the same time, it's really your choice as the consumer. But yes, when we remember when I told you we'd go under contract, Cassandra would send you that big long template email. It'll have our recommended inspector's name and phone number in there for you to call. But if you've got somebody else you want to use, again, as long as they're not related to you or something, then that's fine. Now, this is in red because this is what you're going to pay for an inspection. Now, keep in mind, these things are all optional. On inspections, you can do as many or as little inspections as you want. Your base home inspection, what would we call your mechanical inspection, is $350. That's where they kind of think about that like a physical, right? They're going to check electrical stuff, basic electrical, basic plumbing, basic foundation, basic roof, windows, trip hazards, faucets, plumbing, all that stuff. They may then find something that concerns them and they may recommend, say, hey, you might want to get a professional electrician to reevaluate. I see a couple things here that concerns me. A lot of that is a CYA move for them to make sure that they don't end up in court. So it's kind of up to you at that point. And again, I will tell you that I've only had 1 or 2 buyers not do that, but you certainly don't have to do it if you choose not to. Radon test is $125. Do you know anything about radon?
That's for carbon and stuff?
Well, radon is a gas that basically is in the earth, under the ground, and it's very pocketed or very concentrated. So they say that long-term exposure to higher levels of radon can cause lung cancer, okay? And so and it's crazy all over our area. Like one time I sold a house, it was catty corner from the house I lived in, and the test came back at 29 parts per billion, which is the highest I've ever had on any of my deals. I've heard of them being over 100 or 200, which would be insane. But it came back at 29, which is the highest I had seen. Well, my house across the street tested at 3.5. And 4 is the anything above 4, they're going to recommend that you mitigate for it. Anything under 4, they're going to say that's passing or that's an acceptable level of radon. Okay. And so if you want to do the radon test, my advice on the radon is do it because it's about a $700 or $800 mitigation system to have put in the house. And if it's failing now, it's going to be failing when you go to sell the house, and how many ever years that might be. And that buyer's probably going to do it, and then that buyer's going to ask you to spend the $700 or $800, and it's going to be pretty hard to sell a house with unacceptable radon levels without doing that. So
you suggest us do it?
I do, but like again, if you're like kind of tight on money and you just don't want to spend the $125, I don't blame you. I haven't done it on every single house that I've bought, but just know that it's kind of 2 things. Like, am I concerned about the gas and the potential it could have on the family? I will tell you, like, if it fails, every floor you go up in the house, the levels are greatly reduced. So they always only do the test in the basement, right? So if the basement fails, but that's just a storage area for you, it's probably not unacceptable on the main level because it has to pass through the floor, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, like, there's part of me that's like, it's kind of a scam, and there's part of me that's like, yeah, this is the real deal. If you Google it, you're going to find every end of the spectrum. My advice to folks is, if nothing else, spend it to protect yourself when you go to sell it. Okay, $50 for termite. I highly that's a well spent $50.
Yeah, definitely.
And you guys will probably, depending on what house you end up buying, but if your house is more than 20 or 25 years old, I also recommend a sewer scope. Yeah. Okay, that's typically a couple $100. If you add up all that together, you're going to be at a hair at 700 or a hair over. If you kind of pick and choose a la carte, most of my clients have been between $500 and $700. Okay. Unfortunately, if you buy a little bit older house, it typically costs you a little bit more because you're going to want to do that sewer scope. Okay. All those are paid at the time of the inspection being done. Some inspectors will allow you to bill at close if you want to, but they'll usually charge you a little bit more because they're basically having to carry that. Okay, so once the inspector comes in and does their thing, now keep in mind that $500 to $700, that's outside of the $1,000 down payment. That's outside of the closing costs we talked about earlier, okay? They're going to give us a big, long report back of all the things they found. The sewer scope's going to give us a video and a written report. The inspector's going to give us pictures, 30 or 40 pages of stuff. We go back to that seller, and we renegotiate. And the renegotiation can come in the form of, we want you to fix XYZ with a licensed whatever, or we want you to cover $2,000 in closing costs to offset the cost for XYZ repair, and we will do the repair afterwards ourselves. But if you're already asking for all the closing costs, that doesn't really do you much good, right? Or we can always say also, we want you to come down on purchase price. But again, that doesn't do you. You come down $2,000 on purchase price, great. Your house payment's bucks less a month.
Yeah.
But it's not. You don't have the money in the bank to necessarily fix that thing.
No, yeah, it's like putting down $1,000 on a car.
Right.
It knocks it down hardly anything.
Yeah. So in your case, typically I tell people we're either going to take it as is, we're going to cancel the contract, or we're going to renegotiate. If we renegotiate, we're either going to ask for closing costs, or if you're already getting all your closing costs paid, we're going to ask them to fix things. Okay, and we'll be very specific about how we want them fixed. Because in your line of work, there's a lot of professionals out there that are good and a lot of professionals that aren't, right? So we want to do our best to control as much of that as possible.
Sewer, you want to know make sure it's
right.
the right person.
Right. Okay, so after inspections, then we send them that resolution. We say we renegotiate. It's another round of negotiations. Before the end of our inspection period, I recommend you get homeowners insurance, okay? The reason I recommend you check in with your homeowners insurance is because if they come out and see multiple layers of shingles on the roof or have some major issue with the roof, they won't insure it. And if they won't insure it, we cannot go back to the seller and renegotiate outside of the inspection period because they're not insuring it.
She can deal with that because we switched over to State Farm.
Okay.
She takes care of our insurance.
Okay,
so
cool. And I'll be honest, like a lot of insurance agencies don't necessarily send somebody out, but some do. That's why I recommend just take care of it before the inspection period's over, because I don't want to get you in a spot where you can't renegotiate.
Well, that's something she could just make a phone call.
Yeah, it is.
Give them a heads up.
And again, in the email we send you out, that'll be on the list, right? So drop off your deposit, schedule your inspections, call your insurance company. Like those are typically the first things that happen right away. If you do decide you want to shop the insurance around, I have a guy that I recommend that can sell multiple companies. You don't have to call 4 or 5 different places.
Okay.
You can check with State Farm. You can, whatever State Farm quotes you, send that quote to him and say, hey, Joe recommended I let you run this through your different companies. And he's not always the cheapest, but oftentimes he has for the same or better coverage, a better price. Okay, so you may choose to shop that around a little bit. If you just did, I know that's like really painful, so you may not want to mess with it. It doesn't matter to me, but it's up to you if you want to shop that around. I don't get any kickback from him or anything. I just know that he's saved a lot of my clients some money.
Okay.
After inspections, then we're going to order your appraisal. So the appraisal is, they're just going to come in and make sure the house is worth what we're paying for it, in their opinion. And sometimes I'll tell you, an appraiser's opinion and a buyer and a seller's opinion are not always the same thing. So sometimes people give a lot of credit to an appraisal, and I don't necessarily. I've seen houses appraised for way more than they should have, and I've seen houses not appraised for nearly what they should have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But as long as it's appraised at the value we're buying it, and then we want to know is it subject to any condition improvement, so that, handrail or peeling paint or whatever. And in your case, you could choose to go over and just, if let's say it comes back with some peeling paint and wood rot on a couple of window frames or something, you could go over and take care of that real quick for the seller and get it to pass appraisal if you wanted to, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Typically, I don't recommend that. The seller's kind of putting themselves at risk, because what happens if you fall and break the window or something, right? And then you're like, well, you left the rock there, and they're like, well, you fell through the window, and then who's paying for the window? And so you kind of have some of those things, open your hand up to yourself up to those risks, but typically not an issue. So we'll do the appraisal. Once that comes back, it's pretty smooth sailing. It's just you're kind of packing, getting ready for the move again. Cassandra's working on the back end just to make sure everything is moving through smoothly. We will do a final walkthrough on the property, typically the day before you close on it, just to make sure that if there was any work that was supposed to get done, we want to put our eyeballs on that. We're not re-inspecting the whole home. It's usually a 10 or 15 minute walkthrough. We want to make sure if they were supposed to be moved out by then, that they have gotten all their stuff out. Mm-hmm. There may be, you guys are renting right now, right?
Yeah, we can get out at any time.
Okay.
We have a month to month.
Okay, cool.
So I can bounce.
Perfect. Well,
I'm ready to bounce.
Yeah, I get it. The other nice thing about that is that we might find ourselves in a situation where the seller, they're selling this house and they're selling their $150,000, $160,000 house and moving up to the $250,000 or $300,000, right? And they can't move into the new house until they've closed on the old house, right? And so we might give them a day or two to move out after closing. And so in which case, if we do the final walkthrough, we walk in, it doesn't even look like they started packing. That's going to raise some alarm bells. But if we see everything boxed up, then we trust they're going to get it out of there. Make sense?
On my second home, everything, I had to sell the other one so fast that the offer was in the offer that they wouldn't buy it unless I got out. So I had a ridiculous week or two to really get out.
Right.
So I had to put half our shit in a trailer,
Yeah.
and they let us sit it on the property.
Oh yeah, that's good.
But because we couldn't actually take, nobody was living there, but we couldn't take possession. They said we could go in and clean a little bit, but that was it.
Yeah, because technically until you close on it and take possession of the house, that you don't, if you tear something up or the house burns down, it's like who's at fault or liability there. So I know it's like a crazy worst case scenario, but it's happened, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So the final walkthrough, just want to make sure everything looks good. One thing I will say about that is between you'll usually go to your inspection, or at least the tail end of your inspection, because the inspector is usually there 3 hours. So most of my clients don't sit there the whole 3 hours. They usually show up the last half hour or so, but that's your call. You can go to all of it, none of it, or whatever. Usually you'll go that day. If you want to measure for a refrigerator or curtains or a sofa or whatever, do that the day of inspections, because between inspections and the final walkthrough, we're not in that house again. Okay, that's it. At closing, you'll show up with a cashier's check if you owe anything. Okay, in your guys' case, that may not be. And you'll come and, bring your license and sign more pieces. You thought buying a car was bad. Just wait till you sign for a house. Okay. Yeah.
Sign like 50 papers.
At least. The other thing that I'll say is, if you are, I need you to come in the morning on whatever day closing is and sign, because it's not like you sign on a car and then you drive it off the lot. With a house, we have to get paperwork shared between all the title companies. We have to get wire transfers sent, and typically my buyers want to take possession same day. And the only way for me to I still can't completely, but the best way for that to happen, or me to guarantee that happens, is to close in the morning sometime. So I have a few hours to get some stuff done. So I always tell people, plan on taking the morning off work or whatever you got to do to be there.
She should be done with her 90 days.
Yeah, I should be good
by next month, by this
the
month.
beginning of December.
So
okay,
yeah,
cool. But until 90 days, she cannot.
Right.
She will lose her job.
Right. Well, we'll be fine, because that's 30 to 45 days. Even from whenever you write the offer, and we're still a ways off from that potentially. It just depends on how long it takes us to find the house. And we can do it first thing in the morning, so you can come in at 8 or 8:30, silent dotted line. If you guys are pretty simple, meaning you don't have a ton of questions. It's just show me. I did my closing on my house in less than 5 minutes, because I just literally was title company. I didn't
She won't. She'll just sign it.
Right.
But I'll.
Right.
But I trust you.
Yeah, the title company.
I know where you live.
Yeah, that's true. You do know where I live. You also have my garage code and all that stuff too.
I remember that.
The title company will explain stuff to you, but pretty quickly. And so most of my buyer closings take about 30 minutes. Okay, So it just kind of depends on how many questions you have. Mine was kind of a record, because I've heard it a million times. I don't need her to explain it all to me again. I was like, just give me. In fact, when Lauren sold her house on the sales side, my girlfriend, she just took the stack of paper from the title company and just handed it back, and it was less than 2 minutes. Because she just has done it. We've done it so many times. We typically know all that stuff. So average is about 30 minutes. So if you close at 8 or 8:30 in the morning, you can still be to work, and not miss much.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot better than trying to do it at the tail end of the day. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm better for the morning.
Okay.
She's not quite, but she'll be fine.
Okay. This is just a flow chart of contract to close and transaction management, if you're interested in that. It's kind of all the stuff I just went over, but in a flow chart. Some of our recommended vendors, so home inspector, home warranty company. When we make an offer on the property, it's very likely we're going to ask the seller to provide you with a 1-year home warranty. Now, they pay a third-party company for that. They don't touch it afterwards, and you guys just call and make a claim. If you want to shop that insurance stuff around, and then a couple moving companies if you're interested in that information, and then some testimonies from some of our past clients on what they have had to say. Okay, so that's all that. In here is a flyer from Megan. You already talked to her, but if you've lost her contact info, it's on there.
Okay.
Moving company flyer, insurance flyer. If you're curious about what exactly the home warranty covers, this is the whole brochure on that. Typically, the one that I ask for, if I can find the right page, is the Eagle Premier. Okay. And so it kind of covers everything better.
I know my brother had got it on their home, and they've used it.
Yeah, I
because they had an older home.
Yeah,
they're over there by Park Hill South.
Yeah,
up the hill, but that little old neighborhood,
I know,
little brick houses.
Yeah.
So those. I know he's been putting it off, but he needs the new sewer.
Well, I got home at Tuesday after running some errands, and I put the garage door down, and I heard kind of a loud crash while I went out there, and my spring had broken. So I've got somebody coming out this Tuesday. I just called the warranty company, made a claim. I'll pay a $75 deductible. They'll come out and replace the spring for me. So, yeah, I typically keep because you can, even after the first year, you can buy the warranty. Mm-hmm. And so I just keep it year after year. I did that with an investment. I have a little townhouse in Chapel Woods. I've had it for 3 years now. I've had air conditioner problems every single year. And I will tell you, they don't stay profitable by paying claims out. So they're going to Band-Aid it if they can at all. They Band-Aided that thing multiple times and finally couldn't anymore. And I got a new A-coil inside and a brand new air conditioning unit outside. And they paid for all of it.
That's like my cell phone.
Yeah.
Sprint's, I've been paying the stupid
insurances.
insurance.
Yeah.
And they were trying to just have me upgrade. And I said, no, I just want you.
Right.
So they had to upgrade my phone because they couldn't find the old style.
Yeah.
So I finally got them after 15 years.
Right. At $11 a month or whatever.
Yeah.
My dad's calling me again for the third time. Can I take this?
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
Hey, you're fine.
Hello? Hello? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm in a meeting right now. I thought there might be an emergency because you'd called me a couple times, so that's all right. Okay, all right. Bye-bye. Okay. So the next document to go over with you is the buyer agency agreement that allows me to represent you guys as your buyer's agent. So this is something that the state of Missouri and Kansas both say that we have to have. Okay. So the contract is made between, and what we'll do is put your names there. And I have. Sorry. You're fine. He's listening. I get it. I do the same thing. It's just gonna be Michael on the loan, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys are legally married?
Yes. Okay, so she still has to, you said she'll have to, you'll
so
be honest too.
Both of you on the contracts, you'll both be on the title and the deed. It'll just be you on the loan.
Well, I mean, we can put her, I mean, I just don't know, like, we'll figure it out.
Talk to Megan.
Interest.
I mean,
yeah, I'll talk to Megan and see.
It's just
she's not going to really hurt, I don't think, Adam. I mean,
no, is her credit as good or better than yours?
It's not as good.
It's like 630.
But it's right there.
Yeah, talk to Megan and see what it would do to it.
That's why
she'll coach you on the best option, because having you on it might help you build credit over time, but it might be more damaging in other ways to interest rate or whatever. Mm-hmm. So just talk to Megan.
Yeah,
and see what she says.
I want.
Either way, you're both going to be on the contract. So the contract is made between both of you and Northland Partners LLC. So we are the broker and you are the buyer. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the general description of the property is residential property in the Kansas City and surrounding area between $50,000 and $800,000. We just got to fit in that range somewhere. Term of the agreement is the length of the agreement. Typically, I do a 1-year agreement so we don't have to redo this if it takes us a while to find you the right property. But I also promise you up front, you can cancel with us at any time. So this is a copy of the cancellation that I'll leave with you.
Okay.
Okay. So if you change your mind, and honestly, if I don't know, if something happens, you decide just not to buy a house for whatever reason, which that happens every once in a while, then you don't owe me anything. Okay, so I know, but I just always like to throw that out.
You have to do all your dots.
Yeah,
it's like the people on the phone; they tell you the stupid things over and over.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my, come on.
Okay, well I'll hurry then.
No, so I'm not in a hurry. You're fine.
Buyer representation. So sometimes people think I'm trying to bait and switch them or trick them into some kind of crazy thing here, and that's not what I'm doing. Really, this document is for your protection. Okay, so the buyer represents. These are the only things that you're really agreeing to, and the rest of the documents to hold my feet to the fire. So you're saying, hey Joe, we haven't signed one of these with somebody else. I'm not currently obligated to pay another broker for any properties they've shown me already. You would have had to sign something you'd know. Mm-hmm. You're not aware of anything that would prevent you from closing on the loan. I'm about to lose my job kind of a thing. You agree to comply with all applicable federal, state, local laws, rules, and regulations. You're going to attempt to get pre-approved as soon as you can, which you've already done. And if you talk to any other agents, you're just going to let them know that you're already working with me. So the only time you're ever going to come into contact with other agents really is if you decide to go to some open houses. And so here's my advice on open houses. Go. They're fun. You're shopping for a house. If you happen to have a Saturday where you're not driving to Lawrence and working extra jobs or whatever, or you're just bored without them, you want to go check out some open houses, do that. Just tell the agent you already have a buyer's agent. They'll leave you alone, or they should. They better. If they don't, let me know. But more importantly, if you do like the house, don't say anything to that other agent, right? You keep that poker face on for me because I won't be able to negotiate on your behalf if you're, giving up too much information. So you just say, thanks for your time, have a great day, and that's it. And you shut your mouth. You call me or text me and say, we found the one, get your ass to work kind of a thing, right? So
you got to keep quiet.
Keep that poker face on for me.
I love this.
Now, with me or anybody on my team, if we're showing you a house, you absolutely can. We need to hear that because I need to know what you like and what you don't like, so that as we're walking through other properties, I can point you out to things and remind you of things that you have said in other properties. So with me, I'm your agent. We have that confidentiality, right? The fiduciary responsibility. You don't have to worry about that. You can fall in love with a house in front of me as much as you want. But if you're an open house, you got to keep that poker face on for me, okay? Now, my job, this is the most important sentence in the whole contract. Perform the terms of this contract, exercise reasonable skill and care for the buyer, and promote the interests of the buyer with the utmost good faith, loyalty, and fidelity, unless acting as a transaction broker or disclosed dual agent. So summarizing that, my job is to act in your best interest. The only catch is transaction broker, which we said I wouldn't do because I'd have somebody else on my team work the other side, or dual agent, which is illegal in Kansas anyway, okay? It's my job to seek a price and terms acceptable to you, to accept delivery of and present to you any offers and counteroffers from the seller of the property, and to help you in developing, communicating, negotiating, and presenting our offers, counteroffers, and notices, and to answer all your questions. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. This says in Missouri, we're not obligated to keep showing you properties once we go under contract. It really goes for Kansas as well. Once we go under contract on a property, we're not going to just keep looking at other properties, right? You're spending money on inspections and appraisals and things like that. We're going to focus on the one house we have. We cannot have two contracts or contracts on two different houses either. I do have to disclose to you any adverse material facts about the house that I know or should have known, so I can't pretend I didn't see the giant crack in the foundation. Account in a timely manner for money received. If you give me your earnest deposit, I have to make sure to get that dropped off. I typically have you take that straight to the title company rather than you take it here and then me take it there. Mm-hmm. Just cut out the middleman. Comply with all applicable federal, state, local laws, rules, and regulations as well, and not disclose any confidential information about you to the seller or the listing agent. So that's what I was going back to. If you love the house, you can tell me that, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to tell the listing agent that. That stays between us. Now, remember the paragraph that talked about disclosing adverse material facts about the house? This is the exception clause to that. And the exception clause is sex offenders or criminal offenders in the area, okay? There's a couple websites there. If that's a concern of yours, you want to go check out those websites. Everybody's different on that, but that's up to you. Just if you're going to do that, we can't back out after we're under contract on the house because of that. So just do it before you make the offer. We have to assist you with the closing of the property, so we're not just going to get you under contract, wish you good luck, see you at the finish line. And we are not obligated to search for properties outside of the MLS, although we do keep a pretty close eye on the for sale by owner market as well. Okay. Now, how does Joe get paid? My commission is 3% of the purchase price. Okay. That is typically paid by the seller. And the reason I say typically is sometimes the seller's offering less than 3%. Typically, if I see less than 3, it's 2.5 or 2.75. If that happens, myself or my showing agent that shows you the house will tell you before we show you the house, right? It would be like you going to your, job site and the contractor saying, hey, on this one, we're going to pay you 80% of what we normally would. And you're like, no, you're not, right? Like my money is my money. And so same thing with us. Okay. Here's my promise to you, because it only shows up on our end. It's not like something you can see on your end. 95% of houses are offering 3%. This very rarely comes up. If it comes up, we'll tell you before we show you the house. If we show you the house and fail to tell you because we just didn't pay attention, then I'm going to take the pay cut because in my opinion at that point, I failed to do my job, right? Sure. So I'm going to take a pay cut for failure to do my job. What most of my clients do in that situation is you would have to make up that 0.5% or whatever. Either they say, well, never mind, I don't want to see the house. Or we figure out another way to kind of build that in through closing costs or whatever. In a situation where we have to get all your closing costs covered, that's probably not possible. We probably just need to stick to the 3%ers for you guys, but we can work something out. Again, 0.5% on $1,600 on a $160,000 house is $800. So it's not like an insane amount of money, but it's still
$3,000,
right. But it's still money, in my opinion, you shouldn't have to pay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, if you find a for sale by owner that you absolutely love, I can sell you a for sale by owner as well, but the commission's still 3%. Oftentimes the owner will pay some or all of that 3%. In the event they refuse to, we can tack it onto the purchase price. So like if they're asking $150,000, we can just tack $4,500 on the purchase price and sell it for $154,500. Okay, I've only had that happen one time, and when it did happen, it still appraised for $10,000 over what they were paying for it.
I sold my first home
for sale by owner. Did you pay 3% to the buyer's agent?
I think so.
Yeah, that's pretty common. The $395 broker admin fee that we were talking about earlier, that basically goes to pay the folks working in the background that you never see. But we have a lot of compliance stuff with the state of Kansas and Missouri. We get audited all the time, and so it's offsetting a lot of those costs, okay? If you fire me or a contract expires and then you go back and knock on the front door of one of the houses I already showed you and work some kind of shady under the table deal, if you do that within 120 days, my commission's still deemed earned. 121st day, you're welcome to do it.
Some gangster stuff.
Yeah.
Something to kill you.
That's what this paragraph in bold is talking about. If our contract expires or you fire me, though, you're released from the contract. You can go sign with somebody else. You can go buy any other house you want to. Okay? You don't owe me anything. Brokerage relationship disclosure. This just kind of covers more in the legalese version than what we already talked about here with the different kinds of agencies that you can have. The Kansas one doesn't talk about sub-agency, but that's another one that we don't do. That would be like me subcontracting you out to somebody else in my office. Oh, okay. I kind of joke with people, you're stuck with me until you fire me or buy a house. Again, dual agency won't apply. Designated agency, this one is the one that's going to apply. I'll be designated as your buyer's agent, my team as well. Okay. So, you're only consenting to transaction broker if applicable, and there's a separate addendum. It won't be applicable for you guys, but the broker makes us do it that way. You're not consenting to dual agency, and you are consenting to designated agency and the appointment of a designated agent for the seller as well. Okay? Cost of services obtained from outside sources. I can't spend your money without you knowing it. Basically, like inspections, you're going to choose who and how much and what inspections you do. I don't just do that for you. I have to disclose my role as your agent, okay? And we have to disclose your identity as the buyer. I kind of joke with people, you can't buy the house with money anonymously. We wandered from Pakistan, okay? Other buyers are looking at the same house as you guys are. You're not the only buyers looking for a house in, that area for $150,000 or whatever. We cannot reassign this contract to somebody else. Again, I joke, you're stuck with me until you fire me or buy the house. I'm not an attorney or an accountant, so if you're curious how this would impact your taxes or there's a major legal issue after closing, I can put you in contact with the right people, but I did not pass the bar. I took a 1-week training course. Can you believe that? I had to pass a test, but it was not the bar. The entire agreement applies. We don't pick and choose which sections work and which sections don't. And then cyber protection, just know that cyber threats are real. Mostly don't send your social security number or really important information without it being in a secure portal. That's it. Any questions? Okay, I just need you guys to sign and date right there.
How was Tennessee?
It was fun, except for the damn loss.
Oh, my God. I was like, that whole game, man, felt weird.
Yeah, it did, for sure.
It just had this
even the feeling. Tennessee fans the whole time thought that they were going to lose.
What's today's date?
The 16th, I believe.
16th?
Yeah. And they were walking out of there in droves whenever we were up by 5 and got the ball back.
Really?
Yeah, like half the Titans fans didn't even see the win.
That's crazy.
All right, so now what I need you to do is just go back and initial the bottom of every page. I assume your handwriting's better than his?
Yeah.
Okay, in the top right here, also write your names as you want them to appear on the contract. So if you want a middle initial or a middle name or neither, I don't care. Just write them how you want. And then
I put his initial and my initial?
No, you're just going to initial for you down here, but up here I just want you to handwrite your names in there.
So that I don't mess up the full name, because then you got to write that whole name on each piece of paper, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not writing my full name.
Yeah, on the pre-approval, it just had your first and last name. Okay, give me your address again. Did it have it had a letter in the number?
South.
Or was that a typo?
South,
no, you had a
46.
U in it. Give me the number
my
again.
Typo.
Okay.
2747.
Okay, you had 2U47. That's what is throwing me off.
Oh, probably typo.
Yeah.
South 46th Street.
Can we do all these pages?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And that's KCK?
Yes, 66106.
Okay, and what's your phone number again, real quick?
816-204-5975.
And then what's yours, Stephanie?
913-280-1359.
Okay. Michael, can you go ahead and initial the bottom of every page? And then give me an email address for either one of you. Whoever checks it more, probably.
Oh, he probably checks his emails more than I do.
Okay, what's your email, Michael?
96 mikey.me@gmail.com.
Perfect. All right, awesome. Nope, somebody missed one right there.
Oh,
You.
that's me.
That's why I always double check. Perfect. And then I just need you guys to sign right here.
Both of us?
Actually, one of you is fine
Just
on that one.
On the bottom, the box?
Yeah, in that box. All right, now's the fun part. We talk about what kind of house you want to buy. We got through all the boring stuff. So thanks for being patient with me there. So I'm going to log in, and I'm going to set the search up, and I'm also going to write it down. So right now we're on a month-to-month lease, and we are pre-approved with Supreme.
And so I need to probably touch base with her first thing Monday morning.
Yeah, I would work out some of those kinks.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk real quick. So price range. You're wanting to do up to 160, it sounds like, right? That's where she's got you.
Yeah.
Where do you want to set the bottom end of that price range?
Maybe like 130 or something.
Okay. I'm going to push you up to 165 just in case there's one for 161 or 162, and it's perfect. we just talked about doesn't make much impact at the bottom of the end of the day. I assume you only want single-family homes, correct? Or would you be open to a townhouse, a half duplex, a condo, whatever?
No, it's a single family.
Okay.
Because then I know I wouldn't be able to build anything.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Does age of the home matter to you?
No.
Okay. Are there any floor plans you definitely do want or definitely don't want?
I don't really want the little split levels.
The split entries?
Yeah, where it's like 3 tiers.
Okay.
I mean, my first home was that. You walk in, there's like a living room. You go up, there's another living room.
Mm-hmm. That's a side-to-side split.
Then you go up, and then there's
my house,
the little bedrooms.
Right.
Well, your house is bigger. I'm thinking of this little house. So.
Well, let me.
That one's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like the smaller.
Okay. Let me leave those on there then, and you can just eliminate them case by case. How's that sound?
Because if it's something where I can tear a wall out, like in the kitchen, you know, the walls in the kitchen and open it up, something like that, you know.
Cool. What about the minimum number of bedrooms?
It can't be less than 3.
Okay, so 3 plus.
It's got to be at least 3.
What about bathrooms?
2.
Okay. 1.5 would not be enough, correct?
No.
Okay. That's fine.
We're going to have 6 people trying to take showers.
Yeah.
I hear you. I always ask minimum number of garage spaces.
On that, just, I mean, at least 1.
Okay.
I mean, that's not something, you know, if it's something I build, you know, I could add or something. Same with bathrooms. If there's space where I can add a bathroom, you know, you could look at that too. I don't know how that helps you with your
Let's
search.
start with just 2, and then if we have a hard time finding you something, then I can pull that back. Let's see what our search results are. Does it have to have a basement?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it have to be finished?
No.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, with the older homes, man, if I could find like a ranch, they're so hard.
Yeah.
But older homes, you know, the newer homes, there is no ranches.
Right.
Anymore. It's all like the different tiers and stuff. You know, like your house, you know, the different little roof pitches.
Yeah.
Just a full finished basement and a ranch.
We just got a new roof on our house from that hailstorm that came through a month ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Which was good because when we bought the house, our roofer's like, you got 3 or 4 years left on this roof. Like it was original. It was going to need to be replaced. So we negotiated $3,000 in closing costs because of the age of the roof.
Oh, wow.
And then we ended up, we're actually going to end up probably making a little bit of money off of it because my roofer gave me a sweet deal.
That's good.
That's what's nice about this business is like I know somebody for everything. And so, okay. So let's talk location then. I can draw a shape on a map. I can do zip codes, cities, school districts, whatever you want to do.
It'd have to be Bonner Springs.
Okay.
Or Edwardsville. Or it could be, I just know you're not going to find nothing in Piper School District for what we want for our price.
Let's do a map search then just to see.
But something close to the Legends. Something where my kids could drive to my house from their school.
Okay.
Or I guess one of the kids is about to. With their sports, I mean, we're driving from Turner. It's what, 20 minutes, babe? Mm-hmm. But that 20 minutes going back and forth, sometimes we drive 2 or 3 times one night.
Right, okay.
Back and forth to their schools. That's just not, I mean.
So all these green dots are houses that fit the criteria that I've set up for you.
Okay.
You see there's nothing west of 435 right now.
Yes.
Let me look at something real quick. Oops. So this would be everything that's also pending. I just want to see this is how I can tell if we have realistic search criteria or not. Again, you see nothing. Nothing's even pending right now that fits that criteria.
It's all, and I mean, I'm okay with it. I don't want to be past 78th Street.
Okay.
So 78's the cutoff.
Let's see what's sold in the last 6 months. Oops. So in the last 6 months, there's been, because you said Edwardsville, Bonner Springs. So 1, 2, 3. What about Baser?
We can't do Baser because of her job.
Okay.
We were wanting to look that way, but she took that job, and it's a good job for her. Well, she has to live in Wyandotte. Her job.
Oh, gotcha.
And
I didn't realize that changed.
If you work for the unified government, you have to live in Wyandotte.
Okay, so we want to stay
Otherwise, we would probably look for Basehor or even like Linwood, which is a small town outside of Bonner.
How far north is acceptable? So I've got, this is, you said 78th, right?
78th and State Line.
Yeah, so that's 78th right there. Basically this line that I've got drawn. So how far north do you want to go?
Well, we can't. We have to stay in the Kansas side.
Yeah. So just.
I don't know how far the line is.
Well, the line is the river right here.
Oh, okay. So yeah, anywhere.
That's fine.
I don't care.
And then, do you want to draw just a straight line out? Do you want to come up and follow the river at all? You don't want to go to Lansing, right?
I don't think we can. We can't do Lansing. It's not. That's Leavenworth County.
Okay.
So Basehor, Fairmount, which is and like Linwood and Lansing, that's all Leavenworth County.
Oh, it is.
I wish we could because the taxes are cheaper.
Yeah. Here's what I can do. I can cheat this a little bit. So there's 4 matches right now that are in Wyandotte County that fit that criteria. It's all on that eastern edge.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, just for fun, see what happens when we do 6 matches. Oops. So these are the 4 matches right now.
Okay.
I mean, here's a 3-2 ranch. See, that one looks like it's been flipped already, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Kind of.
On the outside has.
I mean, it looks like they did the floors maybe and painted.
It's gonna be a small house though. It's 925 square feet.
Yeah. And how much they still want for that?
They wanted 155.
Uh-huh.
Now this one's 1,232 square feet and then 400 in the basement. Love that carpet. Oh God. You know what? There's probably hardwoods underneath it.
Probably. I wonder how much a lot of it is. It drop back.
It does fall off. If it was flat, it looks like it's good size.
Yeah.
It's almost an acre.
Yeah, but it drops down.
Yeah.
It's hard to build.
That one might be worth at least like looking up the parcel search and seeing how big it really is, and then pull up or drive by it or whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save this search for now.
Okay.
Email. So make sure I spell all this right, because this keyboard is tricky. See, I always do that. Quez, right?
Yes.
Okay. What was that email address again?
96. Mikey. Should you put hers too?
I will, yeah.
Because she could look at it today.
I'm gonna get both of them.
She could drive by it at least, maybe.
96 Mikey. What was it?
Oh, .me. Sorry.
That's all right.
At gmail.com. Hello.
I got your names backwards, didn't I?
Oh, you did. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, and then Stephanie, what's your email address?
Oh God. SCLAUNCH9 E as an elephant at gmail.com.
Did I spell that right for it? Why not? I did, right?
County. You didn't county.
I hate this keyboard. Shit. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to set this up. It'll email you as soon as a new listing hits the market, and it'll email both of you, and it'll BCC me a copy of it, so I'll get those as well. We're going to hit save. Now, that still take a few minutes, but in a few minutes, it'll be in your emails, and you're going to open it'll have a link it'll say like MLS or Matrix MLS or Heartland MLS or whatever. It'll have a link in it. When you click the link, that's what's going to activate your auto search. See how your circle's empty right now versus these that are filled in. Like this guy still hasn't activated his.
Bachelor pad.
Yeah. So
fun days.
When you click that link, this is what it's going to look like. Okay.
Okay.
So a couple pieces of advice on this is to remember that these pin drops are usually pretty accurate as far as their location, but every once in a while you're going to find one that's a little off or even a way off.
This one right here.
So just be aware of that. You can click them and see, more details. Flip through the pictures, you can scroll through them one at a time. You can hit this button and open them all up at once because you're impatient like I am. You can read the descriptions. Investor's dream on 3/4 of an acre. Okay, so you can read through. The thing I want to show you.
That's a big house.
If you click on, that one is too. If you click on, see this little button right here. Now this will only work on a computer, so it won't work from your phone. But if you on a computer, you click this little 3 dots and you click customer single line, it'll bring it up like an email inbox. Okay. And there's stuff you can do here. You can, on any of these screens, you can favorite them. You can trash them if you know that's not an option. You may have to scroll over. You may have to not, depending on how your Zoom settings are set. But see this button over here? That'll take you to the supplements. And the supplements, it's going to have a copy of whatever additional documentation the seller's providing for us. In this case, it's just a seller's disclosure. So you can pull open the seller's disclosure and just read, like this house is being sold in its present condition. You can read, all about all this stuff. The seller disclosure is this 8-page document right here that's going to tell you, everything the seller knows about the house, including roof, if it's had foundation issues, etc., etc. This page 7 will outline for you what works and stays with the house, what may not work but is staying with the house, what's not staying with the house. So, for example, they're not leaving the refrigerator because it says NS, but they are leaving the dishwasher because it says OS. They always leave the stove, dishwasher, the refrigerator, I'd say about 50% of the time, the washer and dryer about 25% of the time. Okay? So that way you can get, some of my clients want to read these before they see every single house. Some don't give a crap until after they find the house they want to buy, then they take a look at the seller disclosure. Doesn't matter to me, but this is a way for, if you do really care, you can get to it on your own.
Okay.
And not feel like you have to ask me. I can get it for you.
Mm-hmm.
She's good at that stuff.
Yeah.
She's on a computer all day.
Right.
So.
Well, you'll be able to have access to all that. Anytime something new pops up in the market, it's going to email you automatically once you activate that search. And then if you find something you want to go see, all it takes is a phone call to me. Talk to Megan and see what she says and just let me know. But outside of that, you guys are all set.
Okay.
This is yours to take. One other thing that's in here, if you care, it seems like you probably don't, but this is a residential real estate contract. So what's going to happen is it's going to be a Friday night or a Saturday, and you're going to have stuff going on, and we're going to have stuff going on, and you're going to want to put an offer in, but there may be already something coming in, and we got to do it quickly. Mm-hmm. So I like to give you a copy of the contract up front because most of the contract is standard language stuff. Okay, there's all I do, like I said earlier, is go and fill in the blanks. The most important page is that page right there, which outlines all the money. Okay. But if you want to read through this ahead of time, knowing that all I'm going to do on Friday night at 7 o'clock when I'm about to head out to get a drink with the lady friend, is I'm just going to come and fill in these blanks. So if you know what it says ahead of time, then when you get it and you also are trying to go out and have a good time on a Friday night, all you have to do is read the fill in the blanks to make sure I didn't screw something up and then sign away and we're done. And I can get the offer submitted. So I leave that in there for you. Copy of the cancellation for you to shred later if you want to. Is in there.
We don't have a lot of good time Friday nights.
Oh.
We were in bed at 8 o'clock last night. I mean, not sleeping, but just watching movies.
I hear you. We weren't quite that. Yeah, we weren't that early, but we were in bed. I think 9:15 last night. I think I was definitely out before. I'm always out before 10 most nights. So all that's information's there, Stephanie. He already has my cell number, but there's my card with my cell number on it. I've got I got your cell number on here. So typically, what I'll do is set up a group chat with you and me, and probably. Ryan is a newer agent on my team that lives on the Kansas side, and so it'll be a lot easier for him to get to the houses. So I'll probably include him on that in case I need him. Which, if it's evenings and weekends, I can almost promise it's going to be him doing most of the showings for me just because, I mean, you guys know how it gets with kids' schedules, and I have drill one weekend a month.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of kids, too.
Oh.
Yeah, we have 5 between the two of us. 6, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, they brought them when I was working on it. They brought all their kids in, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. That's why we had to have that big-ass house.
Yeah. I know.
And we still have the 2 boys in that sub-basement sharing that space.
They like it?
Yeah, they do. Yep. I'm going to shut this